Trigger warning. Ghosts, ghouls, and gruesome stuff ahead. It's weird, it's dark, it's your kind of vibe.
Welcome to Haunted and Homicidal, the podcast where true crime meets the paranormal. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Courtney. Every week we uncover the terrifying, the twisted, and the totally unexplainable. Lock your doors and grab your sage.
Because things are about to get haunted and homicidal. Hey guys.
What's up?
We're not talking about Brutus this week. Sorry to disappoint. Why is it low? I'm so confused right now. What's happening?
Thought we just figured this out.
Hold on. No Brutus this week.
Give y'all a break.
Yeah, a little bit. But we also have like Christmassy ones that we can talk about because these do come out the week of Christmas and then on Christmas.
Yes.
So we are going to kind of, like we did with Halloween, Thanksgiving, kind of give y'all a seasonal murder, seasonal ghost, witch, demon, whatever.
Mishy. Yeah, Mish. Yeah, baby. All them toys.
She said, I'm murderer.
All the toys. I brought her Santa Claus and she murdered him.
Yes.
Ripped out his belly.
She hasn't been doing it to her other toys, and I don't understand. I think she was just like
She was just super excited.
way excited.
Yeah.
Because normally she's not outside when you come. She meets you at the door, and she's still excited, but not as excited. But this time she was outside, so then she was like super excited. And then I also got her a dog bone from Walmart instead of the corn dog and the crab mites, because I'm not having another stomach episode with her. And so she was really excited about that too. And Santa had to pay the price, man.
Santa had to pay the price.
But if that does not accurately wrap up how I feel about holidays, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. Santa exploded, and I'm okay with that. I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Okay. I have no idea what it was anymore. Okay. Maybe it'll like come back to me, and I'll just like scream at mid-episode like I usually do.
Probably.
So today, we're going to talk about Charles Lawson. He was born Charles Davis Lawson, May 10th of 1886. He is a Taurus. That just means they're bullheaded. My daughter's a Taurus, and she fucking lives up to that.
Yes.
She's a May 5th. She's a Cinco de Mayo baby. He was born in Patrick County, Virginia, born to Augustine, quote-unquote, Gus, and Lancey Lawson. Nope.
Lancey Lawson.
I am dyslexic today.
Oh,
okay.
great.
He was born to Augustine Gus and Nancy Lawson. Charles was one of 8 children, but this is in the 1800s. Like, how many stories have we done about the 1800s where there's that many fucking kids?
A lot of kids.
Yeah. Or what was it, the one that you did?
12 chitlins.
They had 12.
12 chitlins.
But he built a mansion. It wasn't like a little, like a bungalow or anything. But his siblings, he had 3 brothers and 4 sisters. The brothers were Marion, Alicia, and Elijah.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why are you going to get... Okay.
And the sisters were Mary, Margaret, Elizabeth, and Sarah.
They could have gone with the M's.
Could have, yeah. Just, no, I don't know. Whatever. Names are gender neutral, I guess. He was born into a poor tobacco farming family in rural North Carolina, in the rural North Carolina-Virginia border. It was a very large family. Obviously, there were 8 siblings, mom and dad, so 10 total. And they were transient due to farm work and lived a life typical of early 20th century Appalachian agriculture families, which was hard labor, little formal education, and reliance on family networks. So, like with the Nanny Doss story, he was a farmer, a larger family, and because of the duties on the farm, the kids were not allowed to go to school.
Yeah.
They had to work the farm. So this is kind of the same situation. This was just how it was in the 1800s.
Hence why they have a lot of kids.
Yeah. And, you know, I think at that time, big families were kind of mandatory.
Yeah.
You know, you needed the help to do the farm work. And what better way than have a bunch of kids? You don't have to pay them.
Yeah.
They're going to do the work for free.
But you gotta wait for a hot minute for them to get old enough to help.
Yeah, I mean, but until then, you know, but like once the kids are old enough, if you've noticed, the farms start to increase in size and productivity and whatever they're doing because they've got 57 children who are doing the work. So there are no records of any schooling for the Lawson children beyond like the first few initial grades. Again, once they were like 8-10 years old, you know, second, third grade, they'd pull them and they'd start working on the farm. So yeah, from childhood, he did work on the farm, helping with tobacco, livestock, and crop labor. The family was known as quiet, private, and hardworking.
Okay. So nothing wrong.
No, nothing indicated that there were any kind of familial issues. There was no abuse, violence, or criminal activity noted within the family. So they just seemed like a normal, typical of 1800s family. Which a lot of time did mean the dad was like abusive, but in this instance, there's like nothing definitive.
Why he did his shit.
Yeah, so there's like nothing that kind of implicates why he metastasized into what he did. Like he seemed to have come from a fairly typical, safe, healthy background.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of the time you can kind of pinpoint what happened, like with Pazuzu or Brudos. You know, you can kind of pinpoint like where the turning point was and not justify what they did, but you can kind of see why they went on to do what they did.
Yeah.
In this instance, like it was just kind of
he just did it
random, you know. Like there's nothing really.
He just said, "Oh, I'm gonna do my shit."
Yeah. So in 1911, Charles married.
Is she making a lemonade right now?
Yeah, we have a juicer.
Okay.
If you guys hear that, it's my daughter making lemonade because we have a lemon tree and it's finally producing lemons.
She's very excited.
She's very excited.
She came in running.
Yes, I thought it was a tennis ball. So in 1911, Charles married Fanny Mannering, which was his cousin on his mother's side. The two eventually had 8 children. The third child, William, was born in 1914, but unfortunately died of pneumonia in 1920.
Aww.
In 1918, following the move of his younger brothers Marion and Elijah to the Germantown area, Lawson followed suit with his family because that's where the work was.
Yeah.
And he was still farming. You know, he didn't have any kind of education, so that's what he knew how to do. They worked as tenant tobacco farmers, which means the land that they were working, they were renting from somebody else to live there and work on the farm. So they were renting the land that they were on, but then working on the farm. So it didn't really say like if they were paid.
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Like maybe their rent was taken out of their paycheck and then they got the remainder. But by 1927, they had enough money to buy their own farm on Brook Cove Road.
Oh, no.
So, and 2 years later,
oh no,
days prior to Christmas, Lawson, who was 43 at the time, took his wife Fanny, who was 37, and their 7 children, Arthur, who was 19, Marie, who was 17, Carrie, who was 12, Mabel, who was 7, James, who was 4, Raymond, who was 2, and Mary Lou, who was 4 months old, into town to buy new clothes and to have a family portrait taken.
Oh, that's nice.
This would have been an unusual occurrence for a working-class rural family of the era, which has led to speculations that Lawson's act was premeditated. So, during this time, this was not common for blue-collar people to do. It was not common for them to go buy fancy new clothes. It was not common for them to get family Christmas pictures. None of this was normal.
Oh, okay.
However, Lawson, having purchased his own farm 2 years previously, together with the fact that an Associated Press wire went out on the day of the murders, characterizing Lawson as a, quote, well-to-do farmer, could make a pre-Christmas shopping spree and portraits appear reasonable, even though it really wasn't.
Okay.
Some sources say that the Lawsons barely had enough money to buy basic food, tend to their basic needs, even though they own their own farm.
Oh.
So there's like a lot of kind of conflicting information. But typically this was not A, not a normal occurrence in general, and B, not a normal occurrence for this particular family.
Okay.
So, on the afternoon of December 25th, which is Christmas, Lawson first shot his daughters, Carrie and Mabel, as they were setting out to their uncle and aunt's house.
What?
He waited for them by the tobacco barn until they were in range, shot them with a 12-gauge shotgun, then ensured that they were dead by bludgeoning them.
What the hell? What?
Yeah, like nothing leads up to this. It's so crazy.
What the fuck?
He placed the bodies in the tobacco barn, crossing their arms over their chests and placing rocks or pillows under their heads. Conflicting information. Some sources say rocks, some sources say pillows. Afterwards, Lawson returned to the house and shot Fanny at close range, who was on the porch taking a break from preparing the Christmas family meal.
What the fuck?
Yep. As soon as the gun was fired, Marie, who was inside, screamed while the two small boys, James and Raymond, attempted to find hiding places. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know it was their dad.
Yeah.
They just heard gunshots, screaming, and then they fled trying to hide, thinking maybe it was an intruder or just, whatever. Lawson shot Marie, then found and killed the two boys. Lastly, he killed the baby Mary Lou, who, remember, was 4 months old.
Aww.
It is thought that she was bludgeoned to death. Like, she wasn't shot. He just beat her to death.
He could have just suffocated her, making
He could have not done any of this.
that too. But
He could have not done any of this.
He didn't have to do all that shit to the baby.
Yeah. After the murders, he went into the nearby woods and several hours later shot himself. So he didn't survive. The only survivor was his eldest son, Arthur, whom he had sent on an errand just before committing the crime.
What the fuck?
He sent Arthur into town to buy more shotgun shells. Some accounts say Charles told him they needed more shells for hunting rabbits later that day, because that was like a big thing on Christmas.
Yeah.
In that area. They would go hunt rabbits, hogs, turkey, whatever. It was just like a family thing to do. Others say he told him to buy tobacco and shotgun shells with no reason why. So like the first is like, we need it for hunting rabbits. The next one was like, we just need it. So it's believed that Arthur was sent on this errand to get him away from the house. He was the oldest and the strongest, and it is assumed that Charles felt like he would fight back or interfere with his plans.
Probably.
So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because Arthur was a big boy.
Yeah.
He was a big boy. So bigger than Charles.
Okay.
Stronger than Charles because he was 17. Charles was 43.
Yeah.
So this makes sense to me because he could have stopped him. And if you're going to kill yourself anyway, like, that part doesn't make sense. Like, why would you worry about someone stopping you if you're just going to kill yourself in the end anyway? Some theorize that Arthur lived because he was Charles's favorite child, again, because he was the oldest and the strongest. It is also speculated that Charles planned to kill Arthur last to reduce the resistance or interference, but Arthur stayed gone too long and Charles couldn't take it anymore and killed himself. So, like, he got tired of waiting.
Okay.
Got tired of waiting, and he's like, well, fuck it. Fuck it. Oh, well. Bang, bang.
Okay.
Each family member was found with their arms crossed and rocks or pillows laid underneath their heads, almost like a ritual. The gunshot signaling Lawson's suicide was heard by many people who had already learned of the murders on the property and had gathered there. So a police officer who was with Arthur ran down to discover Lawson's body along with letters to his parents. So apparently Arthur came home, saw what was going on, went to the police, I guess, because I don't think in 1800s there's phones.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be, I don't know. But got a hold of the police somehow. The police were there. Neighbors, I guess, had heard what was happening.
Yeah.
They were all gathered on the property, and then they heard that final gunshot.
Oh.
Was Charles killing himself. So as footprints encircled the tree, it was supposed that he had begun pacing around the tree prior to taking his own life. So it seems like he kind of paced for a little bit before finally ultimately deciding to take his own life. Could be he was still waiting on Arthur to show up if that last theory was correct about him, planning on taking him out last. We'll never know. So, there are some theories on the motive. Months before the event, Lawson had sustained a head injury at a sawmill and got hit in the head by large timber. Some family and friends theorized that it had altered his mental state and was related to the massacre, which can happen.
Yeah.
You know, TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, happen, and it can change the character of a person. Like, it is documented that can happen. It happens with war veterans all the time. However, an autopsy and analysis of his brain at Johns Hopkins Hospital found no abnormalities. So they kind of were like, could be, yeah, but we're not finding any evidence of that. Like, we're not saying that he didn't get hit in the head, but we're saying that this likely is not the cause of him killing his whole family, almost his whole family. Despite this, Charles did suffer nosebleeds, migraines, mood swings, insomnia, and episodes of staring into space. His neighbors would often see him outside at night staring into the tree line for hours, just standing there. Just staring.
Something was wrong.
Or, again, they lived in the Appalachian area, and he may have just been looking for Bigfoot. I don't know. But this was, like, common and often to where his neighbors were like, yeah, he was just, like, outside at night, just staring into the trees for hours, like, not moving, not talking, not just standing there, like, transfixed. So, another theory was that Marie was pregnant by Charles, his daughter, but this was never officially proven. It was not until the book White Christmas, Bloody Christmas was published in 1990, so like 100 years later, that a claim of Charles sexually abusing Marie surfaced, beginning with an anonymous source who heard a rumor during a tour of the Lawsons' home shortly after the murder. So in the 1800s, like, this person, you know, and then they somehow provided that information to somebody who provided it to somebody else who ended up telling this person who wrote this book in 1990. The day before the book was published, the author received a phone call from Stella Lawson, who was a relative who had already been interviewed for the book. Stella said that she had overheard Fanny's sister-in-law and aunts, including Stella's mother, Jetty Lawson, discussing how Fanny had confided in them that she had been concerned about a quote-unquote incestuous relationship between Charlie and Marie. So this is how the information got passed down. Jetty died in early 1928, meaning Fanny had been suspicious of the incest at least that long before the murders in 1929, so at least a year.
Yeah.
More support of this theory was revealed in The Meaning of Our Tears, published by the same author in 2006. A close friend of Marie Lawson's, Ella May, came forward and disclosed that a few weeks before Christmas of 1929, Marie confided in her that she was pregnant by her own father, and both he and Fanny knew about it. Many thought that this was also what led him to massacring his wife and his children because he did not want the secret to get out.
But you have to kill all of them?
Yeah,
God damn.
Just the two that knew, like, the fuck. Another close friend and neighbor of the Lawson family, Hill Hampton, stated that he knew of serious problems going on within the family, but declined to elaborate. He wouldn't, like...
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, he didn't say there was sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. Like, he didn't... He just said there were problems. So, there is also a burial plot theory. Yeah. The Lawson's house was built on what locals considered an unlucky piece of land. It was a high ridge associated with multiple prior deaths, old slave cemetery graves, Civil War skirmishes, and superstition of haints on the ridge. And haints are
possessed.
Just ghosts. That, not just possessed, but the land is unlucky.
Yeah.
So he had been unusually kind and generous to the family in the weeks leading up to the murders, which is why I'm saying it wasn't just unheard of for people of that class to go and buy fancy things and do portraits. It was exceptionally unheard of for this particular family.
Yeah.
Arthur, his only surviving son, had said that he didn't seem upset or angry, just unusually quiet and generous. Again, it was in the form of expensive clothes.
What?
And taking the family to Winston-Salem for portraits.
I know where that is.
He had talked about wanting the family to, quote-unquote, be remembered.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is believed by some that Charles did not act alone. There were two types of ammunition found. The wound angles on some of the bodies seemed inconsistent with the height at which Charlie shot them. And some neighbors reported hearing more than one gunshot at the same time.
Okay.
So, I mean, he could be shooting with both hands. Like, I don't know how big guns were back then, but because of these things. But again, witness testimonies are highly unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have heard him shoot. And again, people were out hunting. So it could have just coincidentally happened at the same time. Shortly after the murders, Charlie's brother, Marion, opened the home on Brook Cove Road as a tourist attraction.
What the fuck?
A cake that Marie had baked on Christmas Day was displayed on the tour. But because visitors began to pick at the raisins on the cake and take home as souvenirs, it was placed in a covered glass cake server for many years.
Why would you pick the raisins?
People are crazy. Unfortunately, Arthur's life was short, tragic, and overshadowed by trauma.
Yeah, I bet.
After he was interviewed by police, after finding the bodies, he stayed for a few weeks with an uncle, and then other relatives shuffled him around. He was 16 or 17, so he couldn't be on his own. He did struggle with immense guilt for not being home at the time of the murders. He repeatedly said, if I had been there, I could have stopped him. And again, I think his dad knew that, which is why he sent him out. Arthur hated that the home had become a tourist attraction and despised his uncle for turning it into one, as all of the clothing, bullet holes, and bloodstains had remained for all to see.
I would hate that too. Like,
they didn't clean it up.
Like, that's some bullshit.
But again, the 1800s of it all.
Yeah.
Arthur suffered severe PTSD after the murders. Family members said that Arthur could not sleep through the night, avoided the woods behind the house, hated Christmas. He would not talk about his father. He referred to the house as that place of evil, especially after his uncle turned it into a tourist spectacle, and carried survivor's guilt for the rest of his short life. His daughter said he was, quote unquote, a broken man before he was ever grown.
Aww.
I know. It's just fucking devastating. So on May 5th of 1945, at the old age of 32, I mean, maybe in the 1800s that was old. I don't know. Yeah. But at the old age of 32, Arthur was killed in a trucking accident.
Oh.
He was driving the truck with his cousin, Sanders Lawson, when the truck overturned and both men were killed instantly. He left behind a wife and a young daughter.
He just did not have a good life after that.
No, and that's why a lot of people are saying it's the land, because it goes with you. The event inspired a number of songs and other tributes, including the murder ballad, The Murder of the Lawson Family, which was originally recorded by the Carolina Buddies for Columbia Records in the 1930s and covered by the Stanley Brothers in March of 1956. The case was also featured in an episode of the PRX podcast Criminal and Now Us.
Woohoo!
Haunted and Homicidal.
Woohoo!
At gmail.com. Ha. The Lawsons were laid to rest in a private family graveyard. The main tombstone features the symbol of a square and a compass, suggesting that Charles had been a Freemason, but this is not the case. He was actually a member of the Junior Order of United American Mechanics, which used a similar symbol.
Oh, okay.
The Netflix series 28 Days Haunted, which appeared in 2022, shows the place where the victims were embalmed and describes what happened. So, normally we don't do this when it's a murder, but
spooky.
There have been some paranormal experiences surrounding the murder
of course.
in the house. Yeah. So some have reported hearing a baby crying in the empty woods. Some have reported seeing two little girls walking hand in hand behind the tobacco barn.
You don't like the
children. I don't like the children. But it would have been the two that he first shot and killed, I would assume. Some report smelling Fanny's baking near the house foundation, because the house does not exist anymore. It's just a slab. Some report hearing gunshots on cold mornings. Some neighbors report that their dogs will absolutely not go near the property.
Smart
and this
dogs.
has been happening for years.
Smart dogs.
And I guess some people who have like toured and looked at it brought their children, which cool, whatever, you do you.
Yeah.
But some of those kids said the woods felt wrong after they were in it. And I don't know, like, if you've ever been in woods, but, like, when you come out of it, your whole body just goes, whoa, and you just feel wrong. There's just something, and your whole body is just, like, screaming at you, and you don't know why. I've had that happen a lot, and I don't like it. And that's usually because there's something negative.
By the woods.
I don't. No, I don't. I'm trying to think. I'm like, do I live by woods? But I don't.
We would walk in the woods and go try to find the train tracks.
Mm-mm. Nope. So it is noted that nearly every relative directly connected to the murder, siblings, cousins, in-laws, died in either accidents, drownings, fires, or with sudden illnesses.
What the fuck?
This created the belief that the Lawson family line was cursed after the murders occurred.
I mean, damn.
There is a Christmas murder that you can wrap your head around, maybe, because
That whole land was.
it's confusing because there is no real reason why he did what he did.
That should have been a paranormal one because that's more like the land's possessed and they're.
And that's what they're thinking. But I mean, it's outside of tourists and their little experiences and whatever. It's really wasn't a whole lot of
The whole family
information about it. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so I have the Covina Massacre. That was in 2008.
Yeah, recent.
Oh,
Recent-ish.
So Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, who was born March 23rd, 1963, he was an Aries. He was born to Nancy Windsor. His father was not named, but was reportedly an engineer.
Okay.
He had one sibling named Brad. So he grew up in the San Fernando Valley, Sun Valley, Montrose area of Los Angeles.
Okay.
He was described as bright and socially awkward, quirky, and there are no official records of any physical or mental abuse by either parent.
Okay.
So in his teenage years, he was said to be academically promising and graduated from John H. Francis Polytechnic High School in Sun Valley.
Oh, wow.
And then he attended and graduated from California State University, Northridge. He worked as a software engineer, electrical systems engineer at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory early in his career. College colleagues described him as intelligent and capable.
So, yeah, he sounds really fucking smart.
Many stories include him probing systems, such as one time he accessed salary information on the JPL computer system.
Ooh, you can't do that.
By the 2000s, he had worked at ITT Corporation, an aerospace electronics contractor, in an engineering role.
So he was a fucking rocket scientist.
Pretty much.
So he was super smart. Okay, I don't like where this is going.
He was fired in 2008 for issues that included falsifying hours. This termination is reported.
You can't do that either.
As an important stressor in the months before the killings. He met Sylvia Ortega in 2004 and they married in January 2006. She had 3 children from a previous relationship. The marriage deteriorated quickly.
Ew, no. Well, I mean, they had a 2-year engagement, so
Sylvia filed for divorce in 2008, and the divorce was finalized with a settlement on or about December 18, 2008.
So they were only married for 2 years.
Roughly 1 week before the massacre.
Oh, no.
Reports state that Pardo refused to open a joint bank account with his wife.
Okay.
And expected Sylvia to use her money to take care of the children. He did not feel like it was his responsibility to help care for them.
Incorrect. When you marry somebody with children, you are taking those children on as your own. They become your fucking responsibility.
He said, fuck them kids.
Full stop. Those are your responsibility too. You do not date or marry a man or a woman who has children, and you do not plan on stepping up into the role of mom or dad.
Exactly.
Period. I'm not saying replace their mom or dad if they're in the picture, but those are now your responsibility because they're your spouse's responsibility.
So reports say the settlement awarded Sylvia $10,000.
Oh, that's it?
And allowed her to keep certain items, including her wedding ring and the dog.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm keeping the dog.
While Pardo received the house.
What? I mean, whatever.
I guess the house was his. I don't know. There were also court orders for spousal support earlier in the year that became part of the contentious divorce record. Friends stated that they were constantly arguing over money and support. In June, the court finally determined that he must pay $1,785 a month in spousal support.
Nice.
Of course, Pardo complained to a friend that he was being, quote-unquote, taken to the cleaners while Sylvia was living with her parents, not paying rent, who has spent lavishly on a luxury car, gambling trips to Las Vegas, meals at expensive restaurants, massages, and golf lessons.
Bro. She only had $10,000. How fucking far do you think that's going to stretch?
Exactly.
I mean, maybe in 2008 it stretched pretty far because the economy was better then. But what?
Yeah.
Okay. So she was just doing all this shit for herself that you fucking should have done for her as a spouse.
Exactly. Because, like, how does he know that, like, her parents didn't, like...
But how does he know she's doing all this shit anyway? Like,
Exactly.
Is he stalking her?
Clearly. So during their marriage, Sylvia found out that Pardo had a child from an earlier relationship who had suffered a near-drowning brain injury years earlier,
no.
and that Pardo had not been forthright about that child. This was reported as part of the conflict during the divorce.
Oh, yeah? I mean, that would be, like, a big red flag deal breaker to me also. Like, was he taking care of the child?
It didn't say, but probably not.
I would assume not. Or maybe he was, and that's why he didn't want a joint bank account, so she wasn't seeing child support payments coming out.
Probably.
I don't know. That's fucking wild.
So now, the massacre.
Okay.
At approximately, there we go, 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve, he dressed in a Santa suit and arrived at his former in-laws' house in a rental car.
I don't like this.
He had with him multiple 9mm Sig Sauer handguns.
Sig Sauer.
Sig Sauer handguns.
That's the one that I want because it's small.
Yeah, because you got small hands. And he had a large gift wrap package containing a rolling air compressor converted to spray racing fuel. Because, of course, with his IT all that shit, he knows how to do all that crap. So when he knocked on the door and his 8-year-old niece answered,
oh no,
he pulled out the handguns and immediately shot, wounding her. So he didn't kill her, he just wounded her. He then fired indiscriminately at the fleeing partygoers.
He didn't even know who was there. He was just
Nope,
shooting.
he was just shooting. And after opening fire with the handguns, he unwrapped the package containing the compressor and sprayed fuel around the interior of the home. Police believe the fire was intended to be ignited with a flare, but when the fuel contacted an open flame in the house, there was an explosion.
Oh no.
Between the gunfire and the flames, a total of 9 family members were killed and 3 were injured. One of the survivors made it to a neighbor's house where she called police and identified Pardo as a likely suspect. Pardo had apparently planned a detailed escape. He had rented multiple vehicles and parked one near the house of his ex-wife's divorce attorney.
What?
Full of supplies and maps of the Southwest in Mexico.
Was he planning on killing the attorney?
Police speculated the divorce attorney might have also been a target.
What?
Uh-huh.
Oh my god.
Pardo had also made plans to visit a friend in Iowa and had purchased a Christmas morning plane ticket from Los Angeles to Moline, Illinois. He was also carrying cash strapped to his body.
What?
However,
Ooh.
the explosion and the fire had left Pardo with 3rd-degree burns
That's what you get,
on his
bitch.
arms and legs.
Good.
After setting the home on fire.
I hope it fucking hurt.
Pardo changed out of the Santa suit and drove to his brother's house in Sylmar, where he was later found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the mouth around 3 a.m.
So both of our stories were suicides. That is fucking crazy. Okay.
His brother was not present in the home at the time of his death.
Oh, wow.
The medical examiners found that cocaine was in his system at the time of the attack and his death. He was on that crack.
He was on that white girl.
Pardo's rental car, parked 1 block from his brother's house, contained remnants of his Santa suit, booby traps so that moving the suit would trigger a fire and set off 200 rounds of ammunition.
So this man was like
This-
fucking brilliant,
this
but
man had
also
a-
stupid.
Yes, he had a whole ass plan.
Apparently, Jesus Christ.
So at Pardo's house in Montrose, police had recovered 5 empty boxes of semi-automatic handguns, 2 shot.
Wait. Handguns are
Semi-automatic handguns.
like shells, like rounds.
It's just a semi-automatic handguns.
5 box. Oh, maybe it's 5 boxes of guns.
2 shotguns. And a container for high-octane fuel-take gasoline.
That man was serious.
They also found what was described as a virtual bomb-making factory in his home.
Oh no, he was making bombs too.
Apparently.
What the fuck?
So, the victims. So, number 1, of course, was Sylvia, who was 43.
Oh.
Alicia Sotomayor Ortega, who was Sylvia's mother, who was 70.
Oh my god.
Joseph Ortega, who was her father, at 79. Charles Ortega, who was her brother, at 40. Sherry Ortega, who was her sister, at 45. James Ortega, who was her other brother, at 52. Teresa Ortega, who was her other sister, at 52. Alicia Ortega Ortiz, who was Sylvia's sister, at 46. And then Michael Ortiz, who was her nephew, at 17.
Babies, man. But the 8-year-old survived.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he just wounded her. Because it said there was 3 wounded, so she was one of them.
And
But that was that shit.
and so there's like no justice whatsoever because he killed himself.
Yep.
In a fucking Santa suit. That little girl is probably going to be traumatized and hate Christmas for the... I mean,
She's
I
gonna be
hate
like,
Christmas too,
Fuck
but
Santa.
like mine isn't trauma. Mine is just I'm over the bullshit.
Yes.
Wow.
Because everything's so expensive.
Not just that. I just hate the season.
Yeah.
It's stressful. People are assholes when, there's like no reason to be, and then like you're having to cook all the food and do all the gift wrapping and do all the gift purchasing by yourself. And I'm not doing it this year. Like nobody gets anything and we're making gumbo.
Well,
Point
I got
blank
you
period.
something. So.
Take it back.
I can't.
What do you mean you can't?
Because I ordered it.
Send it back.
No. I didn't spend a lot.
Okay. That's all that matters. Don't spend anything.
I think it was $5 probably in total.
$5. That's a good amount. I like
Yes.
that amount.
Yes.
Because like I'm probably gonna go to Five Below and get you something, so it's gonna be $5 also. But yep, that was our Christmas massacres, both ending in suicide. So neither family got justice. One from the 1800s, one from the early 2000s.
Well, from yours, the whole family pretty much I guess died.
Yeah,
Like from all the drownings and the accidents.
like literal, all the whole family, not just like the immediate family, like the cousins and in-laws and whatever. So,
cray.
yeah.
And then my dude was just crazy.
I wonder if her kids were there because it said she had 3 children from a previous relationship, and she wasn't that old.
They
so
probably
they couldn't have been that old.
They probably were, but they at least weren't any of the victims.
Hopefully, because it didn't really say who outside of the 8-year-old was injured. So
yeah,
but
maybe they were
I would hate for them to have been there. Maybe they're with their dad.
Yeah,
and they didn't have to see their whole family get blown away. Ugh, gross. I don't like it. Mental health matters. Go get your fucking shit handled. So, you guys can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/haunted and homicidal. Patreon, as always.
We have free shit.
I know times are tight right now, especially during the holidays, but once things settle for the new year, maybe, what is that?
Oh, she's laying on the witch's brew.
Oh. Once the new year starts, maybe you guys will be in a better position and can start supporting us financially. Haha. And then, of course, if you guys have any suggestions or just want to say, hey, if you have like any experiences of your own, paranormal or otherwise, you can always email us at hauntedandhomicidal@gmail.com. Okay, bye.
Bye.